saw another hand.
Well, I was just thinking how it goes back to how physicians in Western medicine at least are trained to stop the damage.
Right.
So that's where their focus
Right.
is.
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
not to go this way, it's to prevent it from going this way, which we're glad about, for sure. But we also need those of us who are, how do we make our, on that spectrum that we did the first day? Okay, I want to read to you this fascinating thing. This came from what's the guy's name? Dr. David Ludwig. He was talking. He wrote a book called "Food Addiction and Why Willpower Is Not Enough." We have a coaching. I teach a wellness coaching class. In this class, we really get into helping people to learn how to make permanent change. And it's from the book called "Food Addiction and Why Willpower Is Not Enough."
Thank you.
Dr. David Ludwig. I think that's right. Lugwig. Okay, listen to this. This is a fascinating study. He was looking at sugar. And they did this study, and I want to read this. I know it's horrible to read things to people, but this was his words in a podcast that he gave from the book. He said, we gave these milkshakes. So they had 3 groups in this study, and they gave them milkshakes of various consistencies, various contents. We gave these milkshakes in random order to our participants on separate days, followed their blood sugar, so they would drink, and I'll tell you what the milkshakes consisted of, and then they looked at what's going on with blood sugar, and I'm going to spend a second talking about that in a second. And it said, as expected, there was a higher blood sugar initially after the fast-acting carbohydrate shake. So they had one that was mostly carbohydrates, one that was mostly protein, and then one that I think was hardly anything of either. Anyway, blood sugar tended to crash a few hours later. At that point, the participants reported feeling hungrier, and we're going to go into that in a second. Then we did brain scans. So this is what was fascinating about this. The results. So they looked after they ate sugar shakes. They did a brain scan. I don't know what they used. The results were really remarkable. He says, it turned out that one area, and he says, I didn't know what this area was at first, lit up like a laser in every single subject. It lit up after the fast-acting or high glycemic index shake, but not after the low. So the protein kind of shake. He says, in fact, it was so consistent that we had astronomically strong statistical power. That area is the nucleus accumbens, somewhere in the brain. He says, for the rest of your audience who aren't neuroscientists, that's the center of the dopaminergic reward pleasure center of the brain. It's considered ground zero for the classic addictions of cocaine, heroin, alcoholism, and the like, raising a provocative idea that certainly we need food to live, but food addiction is very controversial. He said, raising the possibility that these highly processed, very rapidly digesting industrial foods we're eating today, kind of what we talked about earlier, can hijack fundamental pleasure and reward systems of the brain. Okay, you following that? It's almost like, I mean, if you think of somebody, and I have never tried cocaine, but I've had friends who have, and once you try it, you're like, I can't not have it. And the same exact mechanism happens in the brain with sugar, with high glycemic, with highly processed foods. It's one thing to feel hungry because your blood sugar is dropping, but it's a very different thing if your nucleus accumbens kicks in. In other words, it's like, I got to have it, and I got to have it now. Because then your ability to resist that 500-calorie bear claw you see in the pastry shop is going to vanish. Hunger and cravings are a really difficult combination to fight. I think that the food industry would like to say it's all our personal responsibility to just control our calorie balance, that there are no bad foods. But I think that's a strong line of investigation to suggest that certain foods profoundly undermine our metabolism in ways that are not all that different to certain classic drugs of addiction.